Hello, Fruit Wars. Once again, this is Captain Fruit reporting for duty, and today this is another episode of Road Rage, but yeah, this is a walking rage one. The weather is just absolutely beautiful, so I had to go take a walk. I usually do a morning walk every morning, between 20 minutes to an hour, and then sometimes midday for my lunch break. I'll take a half an hour walk or a 40-minute walk, something like that, or a walk later on the day if the day is beautiful. Well, anyway, first, before I jump into this video, I just wanted to say thank you for all the Patreon support that we've been getting and subscribers and things like that. Without you, this channel wouldn't be possible. Little Frugal and I have been able to give away a lot of comic books lately. We're really trying to help, especially young readers, to keep them reading, especially during the summer. And keep them interested, keep them involved, because it's been pretty well proven. I think it's a pretty obvious fact that kids that keep reading tend to learn better. It's easier on them. They retain knowledge better, and it helps them all through life. Well, anyway, we like to support good comic books and good comic book creators too. So with that said, I recently picked up more back issues, and if people aren't as familiar with me, I like to sometimes buy lots of comic books, buy them in lots, like complete sets, or maybe 50 issues in a block or something like that, when I can get a hold of them really cheap. And recently I got a hold of, I think it was from 1999, Birds of Prey. And if you're not familiar with that, it was written by Chuck Dixon, and at least that's how it started. I haven't read through them all yet. I've read the first 5 issues. And the artwork was by Greg Land. And this was Greg Land before he started just tracing porn. So, if you're not familiar with what I'm saying, Greg Land is an artist that's notorious for doing a lot of tracing. He's using life models and things like that, but he'd lift them right out of pictures, pretty much just trace over them. Well, this is before he did as much of that. And I have to say, his art back in the day, I really liked. He wasn't as bad until I don't care for him now. You can tell it's all traced, but back then he didn't do it as much, and so the artwork was really good and solid. And of course, as I said, it's Chuck Dixon writing, and you just can't go wrong with Chuck Dixon. So anyway, we have Babs, or at this point in time, she was Oracle. For those of you that don't remember that, she was shot by Joker in the Killing Joke. They decided to make that canon, so she was wheelchair bound, and she focused more on her brains and her technology skills, and that was a great period of time for Babs. So now Barbara, now of course, is back to being Batgirl again, which is okay, and I will say okay because her most recent series started terrible. When they switched teams, so it got better. It's still just okay though. Anyway, I digress. So this has her, and then it has the Black Canary. And one of the things I really like about this time period, especially under Chuck Dixon, is you could write a strong female, but not be a Mary Sue. So, for example, the very first issue, you got the Black Canary gets captured, but yet she's still tough. She still fights. She could take out dudes, and it wasn't all man-hating. You didn't have to hate men. She didn't have to be the best at everything there is. She could get knocked out. She could get beat up. But she was tough. She was an awesome character. Still is a good character, don't get me wrong. It's just she was written really well at that time. So both her and Babs, they're both flawed characters, but they're good. So it makes it very interesting. So anyway, the first issue was, your normal get to know the character kind of thing. But it was very well done. It was a good setup issue too, and of a story arc of freeing people that were being pretty much kidnapped and by his overlord, and instead of just kidnapping them and demanding a ransom, he would demand payments. And if these payments weren't to be continued to be made, eventually he'd start mailing body parts to people that cared about them to get them to pay. And once the money stops, well, they're dead. So they're pretty much paying to keep them alive. And so Black Canary had to infiltrate that. Of course, gets caught, makes it a little interesting. Meets up with another gentleman, which had a back history with Babs, which also makes it interesting there too. Eventually, they fight their way through it. You know how it goes. and save the day. But really well done. You never thought the character was overpowered, and that's one of the things that makes a good hero story, is your superhero can't overpower the villains in a lot of cases. There has to be, the David and Goliath mentality there. There has to be odds to overcome. And you had that, and that's one of the problems with a lot of today's books with female characters. There is no odds to overcome. The character is already so smart or so powerful. It seems like every new female hero, especially in Marvel, is the new biggest genius. And so there's never any odds really to overcome, except for their own narcissism. And in these books, there was things to overcome, which keeps the story interesting. And then I'm into the second story arc now, and it's sort of Black Canary sort of waters her way into it. Sort of one of those by chance something happens. But with Chuck Dixon, you gotta know you're always gonna get interesting written characters in a good story. I love Chuck Dixon's writing. I don't think I've ever read anything by Chuck Dixon that I thought was under average. I mean, sure, not every book he's written was like, oh, that's the best one ever. But even his average is really good. So I love anything pretty much with Chuck Dixon on it. And this is one of those series that I just never got to. There's only so many dollars in your wallet. And so now I'm being able to jump into it, and I'm really enjoying it. And if you find it, I recommend, if you find it, and you probably can find it pretty cheap, find it a lot like I did, or maybe find it at a good discount at a comic book shop, check it out. I think it was $19.99 this started. It's written by Chuck Dixon. The artwork was by Greg Land, at least for the start. I don't know how long that's going to go. I haven't looked through all the issues yet. So if you want a well-written female cast of characters with fun stories, this is a good one to go with. I strongly suggest checking it out. This is more of the tales that, I always enjoyed. Good overcoming evil. There was no issue of going, well, which one's the good guy? And I understand not everything is easily black and white. But nowadays, there's so much deconstruction of everything. Everything is so gray. We miss the true superhero, which is another problem. Captain America is a perfect example of that. When you think about it, it's okay to do deconstruction stories once in a while, but to have a good deconstruction story, you have to have a character that was built in the first place. And the reason I mentioned Captain America has been deconstructed for over a decade now. You have to have him built back up before you can knock him down. The current storyline that America doesn't trust Captain America or anything, once again, is more deconstruction. How can you go down any farther? He's already been deconstructed to the core. I mean, this isn't even really the real Steve. It's a cosmic cube variation from cubic or whatever to make it into him. He's been so far deconstructed. Before that, he was written by Wade, and Wade also beat on him with his, he'd beaten up on himself and how he blamed himself. So we had that. We had the Civil War. We had him aged really old. And then before that, we had him taken to a different planet kind of situation, more of a futuristic storytelling where he was beat down and deconstructed too. It's just been deconstruction after deconstruction and no building, and that leads to problems, and that's not good characterization. So I don't think you have any of that here, not least so far in the Birds of Prey that I've been reading. I recommend checking it out. All right, thanks for listening to me babble. I enjoy these kind of videos. I don't get to always do them as much as I like. I'm feeling a lot better now, so I'm able to do more stuff like this, whereas I could barely talk a few days ago. That is what it is. Well, thanks for listening. Until next time, keep it cool.